Have you ever been handed a critical document? Maybe it's a detailed project brief or perhaps an investment proposal.
Or even just instructions for assembling something complicated.
Exactly. And you feel that familiar pressure. You know the general topic, sure, but understanding exactly what's required, what the hidden nuances might be.
Or, yeah, what kind of response they're really looking for.
That's where it gets tricky. So today, we're diving deep into precisely that challenge. How to meticulously read, interpret, and, well, truly understand complex requirements.
Right.
And our insights today, they actually come from a fascinating article focused on the Advanced Performance Management exam, the APM exam.
Yeah.
Now, before you think this is just for students, trust me, the strategic approach we're going to uncover, it's pretty universal.
Oh, it absolutely is. Our mission for you in this deep dive is really to equip you with a robust, strategic way to decipher these detailed requests. Whether you're navigating a high-stakes professional report, a client brief, or yes, even a complex exam question, it's all about cutting through the noise, you know?
Getting to the core.
Getting to the core of what's important quickly and accurately.
And the rich material for our discussion today is drawn from excerpts of an article called Reading the Question Requirements of APM.pdf.
That's the one.
It gives a real inside look into common pitfalls, misconceptions around how these requirements are structured, and crucially, how they should be approached for the best results.
Yeah, how to tackle them effectively.
Okay, so let's unpack this first crucial point. It really sets the stage. You might assume that a complex set of requirements, like in a report or an exam, are just kind of put together quickly.
Right, just dashed off.
But our source highlights something surprising, the amount of attention, the rigorous review that goes into crafting them.
It's truly remarkable, actually. The teams doing this often perform more than 5 layers of review before anything's finalized.
5 layers, wow.
Yeah. So what does that mean for you, the reader? It means that because every single word, every phrase has been meticulously considered, meticulously chosen, it demands the same meticulous attention from you. So the first key recommendation is always take time to read the requirement. Seriously.
Don't skim.
Don't skim, because every single word and phrase will have significance.
That's a powerful thought, isn't it? It isn't just about exams. Think about how this applies to any critical document you get.
Contracts, specs.
Yeah, a legal contract, project specifications, a strategic memo. Understanding the precise intent behind those carefully chosen words, that can really be the difference between success and, well, a costly misunderstanding.
Absolutely, a huge difference.
So if someone doesn't take that initial time, what's the most common trap they fall into?
The most common pitfall. Answering the question they think was asked.
Right, the one in their head.
Exactly, not the one that was actually asked. They skim, they make assumptions, they miss those critical qualifiers or the action verbs that change everything.
Okay, so that foundational understanding of the words leads us nicely to the dynamic power of the action verb.
Yes.
Our source points out that especially in these high-level analytical tasks like in management accounting,
Right.
requirements mainly use higher-level verbs from Bloom's taxonomy. That's that framework for thinking skills, right? From recall up to complex evaluation.
Precisely. And to show how important these verbs are, let's just take evaluate.
Okay.
To evaluate means to judge or determine the value, the worth, or, the quality of something.
Like a system or a report.
Exactly. A performance system, a report, a costing method, maybe a remuneration package. But crucially, this isn't just listing pros and cons. You have to weigh the advantages and disadvantages, yes, but it demands a final application of judgment.
Right.
Judgment as to what is appropriate in that specific situation, backed up by reasoning. And it's probably worth noting that assess is usually considered very similar.
So assess and evaluate both need that reasoned judgment.
In most cases, yes. That's the core requirement.
So think about the last time, maybe at work or personally, you had to make a big decision. Were you truly evaluating, applying judgment based on weighing things up?
Or just describing the options.
Or just describing. It's about that deeper level of critical thinking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Moving beyond a simple definition to the complex action they demand.
It really is.
And speaking of action, here's where it gets really interesting. The source emphasizes that management accounting and, frankly, any effective business advice is always context-based.
Absolutely. Always. The bulk of the value, so the marks in an exam question or the impact in a real-world brief comes from applying your understanding to the specific company or situation named in the scenario.
Okay. Not just general knowledge.
Not just general knowledge. Or providing illustrative examples from that scenario. Answers that only describe general theory, technical terms, without that specific application. They just won't hit the mark.
So even if it doesn't explicitly say, apply it to company X.
You almost always have to. Application to the scenario is usually implicitly required.
Got it.
So for instance, imagine a scenario, maybe like in a business case study. You're asked to, let's say, advise the board of a fictional company, Veati, on the problems of implementing and using the balanced scorecard approach at their organization.
Okay, the balanced score, that popular framework for tracking performance beyond just financials.
That's the one. Now, the source stresses this question is not asking for a generic description of the balanced scorecard.
Right.
It's specifically about its problems at Veati. So generic comments about its universal limitations, they wouldn't score highly.
It has to be tailored.
Precisely. Or take another example, maybe from a case asking you to complete the analysis and evaluate the operational performance indicators at Harry using the headings and data in Appendix 1.
Okay.
Now, you might use a model like the performance pyramid that helps break down indicators by level, right? But the focus here was only on the operational level for Hooray. It explicitly required calculations, commentary, and evaluation of how useful those indicators were for Harry's monitoring.
Very specific.
Surgical precision, really.
So the takeaway for you, the listener, seems clear. It's not just what you know, it's how you apply it to that specific situation that truly matters. Knowledge is power, sure, but applied knowledge, that's impact.
That's impact. Well said.
This brings us perfectly to what's expected when an opinion or recommendation is sought. This is where you move from analysis to, well, action.
Yes, and this is a cornerstone of professional advice, really. Any opinion or recommendation you give must be justified.
Justified how?
Within the context of the scenario. You need to back up your advice with key information from the provided context. And crucially, don't sit on the fence.
Okay, so commit.
Commit. For example, if asked to recommend a new reward scheme, you have to look at the pros, the cons, and then come to an overall conclusion, even if it feels tricky.
What if you just say more information is needed?
Well, if enough information is provided, simply saying more information is needed will score poorly. You need to work with what you have.
Right.
And also, when you do calculations, say, for something like economic value added, you know, that metric showing wealth creation, the relevance of the final figure needs to be explained. You can't just present the number. What does it mean in this context?
Okay, makes sense.
Think about advising different stakeholder groups. Like in a case that asked, for each of the 3 stakeholder groups, recommend and justify an appropriate performance measure which could be used by Roan.
So the justification is explicit there.
Explicitly needed within the scenario context and tied directly to those specific stakeholder needs.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How often we're asked for an opinion by a client, a colleague, a manager, without maybe realizing the full depth of justification needed to make that opinion credible.
And impactful.
You can't just throw out an idea. You really have to defend it with the evidence provided. Now, let's shift gears slightly. What about requirements that ask you to use a specific model or a framework, a method, maybe a particular data source?
Yes, the tools.
These are like tools in a workshop, right? You wouldn't just admire a hammer, you'd, use it.
Exactly. And your answer must reflect that specific instruction. If it says use Model X, use Model X.
Oh.
Following that instruction actually provides the approach, the focus, sometimes even the natural structure for your answer.
Right. It guides you.
It guides you. And the source is very clear here. You should not spend much time, if any, just describing the model or framework in general, theoretical terms.
And no textbook definitions.
No. The marks, the value, it's all available for the appropriate use and application of that model or framework to the specific scenario.
Got it. Application again.
Always. For instance, a scenario might ask for an evaluation of performance reporting and then specify that the mission and objectives provided in that scenario are the expected structure.
So you follow that structure.
You follow it? It might even add a constraint, like no new measures were to be suggested. That forces you to adhere strictly to the given information and framework.
So it's about applying the tool to the specific problem, not just reciting its manual.
Precisely.
That really drives home the point.
Yeah.
These tools, these frameworks, they're meant to be applied, not just recited or described. They're there to help you organize your thoughts and provide a structured answer to the specific problem at hand.
Exactly. They're aids to application.
Okay, and this leads us to a really fascinating, important note from the source. It addresses a common, yet often unexamined assumption.
Ah, yes. This one.
Observed in thousands of responses, apparently. It challenges a bias that can creep into how we interpret any data, really. So what does this all mean for us?
Well, it unpacks a pretty widespread misconception. The idea that financial performance indicators are always more susceptible to manipulation, and that non-financial performance indicators are, by contrast, somehow less open to manipulation.
Right, I think I've heard that kind of thinking.
It's common, but the source immediately debunks the false implications that often follow from this belief.
Such as?
Well, first, it doesn't mean that people who prepare financial reports are inherently unethical. That's just not true.
Okay.
And second, it certainly doesn't mean that controls over financial information systems are less severe than those over non-financial systems.
Right. Financial controls are usually pretty rigorous.
Exactly. Your understanding of professional ethics, the rigorous controls around financial reporting, that should immediately tell you these implications are false.
So what's the actual truth then? Is manipulation not a risk?
Oh, the danger of manipulation does exist, definitely, across all reporting, financial and non-financial. But the source suggests it's often exacerbated by inappropriate reward systems.
Ah, the bonus culture.
What we commonly call a bonus culture, yes. That can create pressure to distort figures, regardless of whether they're financial or non-financial.
That's a really powerful point. It encourages us, you, the listener, to critically assess our own assumptions about data and reporting.
In any context, not just exams.
It's about looking beyond the surface.
Yeah.
Questioning those underlying beliefs about how information is generated, how it's presented, and maybe why it's presented that way.
Absolutely critical thinking.
So, to briefly summarize the key takeaways from this deep dive into understanding complex requirements, we've explored the critical importance of carefully reading every word,
Every single word.
understanding the action verb to guide the required judgment,
Knowing what evaluate or assess really means in practice.
ensuring direct application to the specific scenario,
Making it relevant.
providing truly justified recommendations, no fence-sitting,
Backing up your advice.
and using models as tools for application, not just for description.
Applying the tools, not just naming them. And if we kind of connect this to the bigger picture, the skill of precisely interpreting detailed requirements, delivering these highly targeted, well-reasoned responses, it extends far beyond exams or academic settings.
Oh, definitely.
It's an essential foundational skill for navigating any complex information landscape. Project briefs, client negotiations, strategic planning.
Even personal decisions made.
Even personal decisions, sure. So consider how mastering this approach can elevate your critical thinking, your communication, and, well, ultimately, your effectiveness in pretty much every area of your life.
It's definitely something to reflect on. How do you approach those detailed instructions or requests in your own world? Do you read between the lines, or do you really dive deep into every single word, understanding exactly what's being asked?
It's worth thinking about.